难道你那边也有个 Adam 吗？我是不清楚。
打招呼，我不知道他是谁，好气啊！
哦，差点忘了。
我们的主持人
这个问题问得非常好，我们的主持人消失了。
我手机去，
主持人呢？啊，
不知道。现在中国时间是几点
8点。
晚上8，不对，那边周六早上8点49分吧，应该。
就一样的是吧？就反过来了。
对，反过来。
Vogue 里面只有我一个人。
啊
那
？Zoom
还太早。没有，他那边那个腾讯会议叫 Vogue。
哦，
要不就很奇怪。
我就要跟可凡说一下吗？
他进来了。
哦 ，OK。
Hello，可帆听得到吗？赶快露脸。
Hi, hang on. It just doesn't want to start my video.
Hello。
Hello。
你好呀。你好，Zoe。
可帆，你先说一声，用英语说一声那个，我们等一下。
哦，宋老师进来了。
没事，看到了。对。
哪一位是 Sophie 呀？
心动。
对。
哪一位是另外一位艺术家
？Sophie，我再发个邮件跟他说。你先，等会儿。宋老师。
宋老师啊。宋老师啊。
宋老师您好。您的麦闭着，您可以把麦打开。
你静音了。
你们能听见吗？说话
可以，
听到了。
您还是在工作室，不错。
对，我想在工作室比较那个，不知道这背景怎么样，有点乱啊。这
蛮好。
因为在家里，我觉得有。
介绍一下，对，就是这位可帆白，可帆。
你好。
对，他是
今天的主持人。
好。
对，您是第二段的话，我们待会儿我会叫您，然后您就可以开始。
你怎么叫我？
我待会儿会提一下，对。然后第一段是另外一位老师。
对，你怎么叫我？就是你就这么说吗？
我会。
对，他会介绍。
对，用中文跟您说，宋老师您可以开始了，然后您就可以开始。
好的。
Hi Sophie。
Hi Sophie。哦，我发个朋友圈，先通知一下别人。你发了吗？
我发了。
哦，
我已经发了，然后我这边 mute 掉了，然后那边会 share 的时候听得清楚一点。
哦，好的。
我现在就说话，你们能听见是吧？这个音量可以。
对。可以，特别好。
好的。
宋老师，刚刚那个解决了吗？那个
没解决，我就是这样，我也不知道为什么，可能是你们做饭缩小缩大的 ，anyway 就这样吧。
那就等会儿 skip 吧，把它给跳过也行。
不用，就大概看一下吧。哎呀，可能讲的也蛮多的。
好的。
也不知道。到最后你的问题你也没跟我讲，我也不知道你还要问问题。
是这样，我这边2个问题，我不知道算不算尖锐啊？主要这样，就是一个是作为华人艺术家，是待在纽约的话，是不是非要找到自己一个 community？ 这样，对，
okay.
这样一个问题。
你是问我的是吗？
对，问你的。然后还有另外一个就是说，如果说别人给您贴一个 tag， 叫是剪纸艺术家，您会不会介意？这样。但我也不知道我等会有没有机会问这2个问题啊。
好吧，行，看一下人吧。
可能都轮不到我。对，
没错，也许观众使劲问。
Sophie 说他的 camera 有问题。
对，
我们再等一下吧，等到9点我们就开始好吗？
好的好的。
因为时间的问题。
又进来了一次，他换了一个账号。
我让他进了。
Hi Sophie.
Sorry about all that.
Nice to
Hi,
meet
everybody.
you.
Hey Sophie, good evening.
Sophie.
Sorry, I've been doing remote school all day and using the same computer for my daughter's Department of Education logins, and that's made everything wrong on my computer. So I just had to fix that. I'm all good now.
It's all good. And by the way, I'm Kafan. I will be the host for this evening. Nice to meet you. I'm also a second year MFA at Pratt.
Oh, fantastic.
We're all classmates.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's nice to meet all of you. How long do you think you want to give people to come in? Like, what time do you think you want to get started?
We wish to start at 9 o'clock, so that we can finish on time. But depends on how many people have questions to ask. But our plan is to have just 1 hour, so 15 minutes artist talk, and then 10 minutes Q&A, and then another 15 minutes and 10 minutes.
Sounds good. Do you want me to screen share quickly just to make sure you can see my PowerPoint?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'll be really quick. It actually says host disabled participant screen sharing. I might need you to make me.
Oh, Xirin, I think you need to give permission to both artists.
Yeah, Sophie, can you do that right now?
I'll try again. Hold on. Yeah, looks good. Okay, I'm just going to share the PowerPoint very quickly.
Nice. I can see that.
Okay, I'm just.
Would you test the video first?
Yeah, let me test the video. Actually, for some reason, it's just not letting me play this video. It's coming up as a
Oh my gosh.
I think it's the same for us.
Everybody's getting that. Yeah, I saw that already. I'm just going to fix this. I'm going to add in the move file again. And I'll make sure it's embedded like on my computer and not from YouTube, because I know that can slow things down.
And also for 宋老师，您想要试一下您的电脑可以
Can you?
Let's try. It looks good.
Looks good.
可以，对，可以看得到。
It worked.
Let me see the one. See, Xiyun, you see it?
Yeah.
It's very fuzzy. I don't know why. It's just these 2 pictures. Another one, they're all fine.
That's weird.
I don't know. Just these 2. You know, I don't want to switch the, stop sharing and bring my own photo. I mean, that's going to take a little, 就是会浪费一些时间，所以我会讲快一点。我在这里讲的快一点，没关系，他就大概看一下吧。 我不知道是你们那个文案做的时候会压缩，会怎么回事？你看其他
有可能
都非常好。然后我那个 video 我就想最后再放，还是你觉得我在这里停一下，把这个 stop sharing 我要重新放一个 video， 然后再打开也可以，我可以放。
先放 video 吧，先放 video。对，就这边
先放 video。
就这边停下放 video，然后再回来。
哦 ，OK， 好的，行，那就这样吧，其他的就这样了，我觉得可以了。
video 您现在要试一下吗？现在 video 您现在要先试播一下吗？看可不可以放？
等一下，好的 ，OK， 我看 share 一下。等一下，我把这 video 挪一下。
Hi Austin。
你们可以放吗？可以看吗？
不行。
可以看吗？你们？
Oh, hi everyone. For people just joined us, let's give like 5 more minutes for more people to come in, and we will start.
OK， 你们可以看到吗 ？video
还不行，
不行。
啊？
还不行。
你看不了 video。
对，你没有 share。
你要宋老师，你要分享一下你要 share screen。
等一下 ，OK， 等一下，不好意思啊。
没事。
这个技术问题真的是。OK.
Okay, I fixed my video file.
Oh, that's nice. We're solving the same problem with Song Sophie.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can share, right?
I didn't want to display it, but I think it's working.
可以看到了。
可以看到
，right? Working.
OK. 就是哎呀，就是操纵可能会有多少秒耽误一下吧。
没事。
现在可以看到 ，right？
可以。
这 OK， 那就行了，因为我这个 video 就37秒，很快的。我快就是我是快，就是压缩了，所以不是很久。OK。
宋老师，让我们开始吧。
好，等一下啊，我把那个打开。
Okay, let's start. So, hi everyone, welcome. I'm Kefan Bai, a second-year MFA painting student at Pratt, and I will be your host for this evening. First of all, I would like to thank you all for joining us today, especially our wonderful guests, Sophie and Songxin. This is our second webinar of the Speculation of Art After Pandemic Art Talk series, and it's a project designed for leading conversations with artists globally, so different languages will be used during this meeting. For people who attended our first meeting, we want to express our sincere apologies because many unexpected accidents happened during the last meeting due to our lack of communication with the previous artists. So for this time, we decided to reduce the duration of the meeting, and we tried our best to make sure everything will go well. And in order to make this happen today, we have Xu Yunxu doing the captions and subtitles, Joey Chen being the co-host, and Zoe Wang as the relay operator on Chinese medias, and our best interpreter and translator, Jordan, responsible for the Q&A part. We'd also like to thank Pratt Graduate Student Engagement Fund for supporting today's lecture. The lecture will break into 2 parts. First is 15 minutes of artist talk and 10 minutes Q&A, and another 15 minutes talk following with the 10 minutes Q&A. We also want to introduce you to a stack system that we learned from our symposium class, which is that every time you have a question you would like to ask, you may simply type stack in the chat. And after the artist is done with their talk, we will call on people who have questions in the order so that we can make the whole process go fluently. 大家好，我是白可凡，一名 Pratt 在读的研究生，也是本次会议的主持人。首先，我代表我的所有伙伴们对今天邀请到的2位艺术家 Sophie 和宋鑫表示由衷的感谢，并且非常欢迎大家能够参与到此次的会议中来。 今天是我们举办的疫情后的艺术推测演讲系列中的第2场研讨会。我们还要感谢 Pratt 研究生参与基金对今天讲座的支持。对于出席了上一期研讨会的同学和老师们，我们想表达一下我们由衷的歉意，因为我们的经验缺乏和沟通不当的问题，上一次会议中出现了很多不好的突发状况。此次我们吸取了经验教训，并且缩减了时长。为了此次研讨会的顺利进行，我们的成员徐希允会负责字幕和字幕的翻译，周玉琛为协助主持人，负责管理会议的秩序，Zoe王负责中国线路转播，以及我们超棒的 Jordan 负责问答部分的口译。此次会议呢，我们有邀请到了2位艺术家，他们分别将为我们做出演讲。会议分为上下2部分，每部分由15分钟艺术家演讲和10分钟问答组成。同时，为了有效地利用时间，我们建议大家使用一个在本校很流行的提问机制，就是每当你有问题想要提问的时候，比如在艺术家演讲的过程中，你可以在聊天区域中发送提问2个字，这样在演讲完毕后，我们就可以按照顺序的请艺术家为我们一一做出解答。Okay, now please allow me to introduce our first artist, Sophie. Sophie Kahn is a digital artist and sculptor whose work addresses technology's failure to capture the unstable human body. She grew up in Melbourne, Australia, and is now based in Brooklyn, New York. She earned a Bachelor of Art honors degree in Fine Art and History of Art at Goldsmiths College, University of London, a graduate certificate in Spatial Information Architecture from Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology University, and an MFA in Art and Technology Studies at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, where she was awarded a full tuition trustee scholarship. 索菲·凯恩是一名数字艺术家和雕塑家，他的作品讲述了科技未能捕捉到的不稳定的人体的问题。他在澳大利亚墨尔本长大，现在住在纽约的布鲁克林。他在伦敦大学金斯米斯学院获得了艺术和艺术史荣誉学士学位，墨尔本 RMIT 大学空间信息建筑学生研究生证书。他还获得了芝加哥艺术学院艺术与技术研究的硕士学位，并且获得了全额奖学金。Okay, finally now please welcome our first artist, Sophie, to begin her talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for organizing. I'm really happy to be here. I have a lot of images, but I will try to speed through them as quickly as I can. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just lost my PowerPoint, which is here. Okay. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm just gonna share my whole screen. Okay, can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yes.
It's
great. Okay, I am a digital artist and sculptor, grew up in Australia and based in Brooklyn. Until COVID, I was a member of the Elizabeth Foundation for the Art Studio program. I originally trained as a photographer, and although I now create 3D printed sculpture, I'm asking the same questions I originally asked in my photographic work, questions about time, history, memory, and the body. So this is the foundation of all my work. It's a 3D laser scanner, handheld. Very precisely engineered device, but it's not really designed to scan the human body. When a person moves or breathes, it generates multiple overlapping forms. I deliberately and carefully misuse this device to generate the fragmented forms that you see in my work. I actually started using the 3D scanner at RMIT's Spatial Information Architecture Lab in Melbourne, Australia in 2003, where they were using the scanner to reverse engineer Gaudi's original maquettes and 3D print them in order to complete his famously unfinished Sagrada Familia Cathedral. But when I first scanned my own face, I noticed the strangest thing. My face on the screen, drained of all color and movement, looked exactly like a death mask. So I started making sculptural death masks from the scan data. It was something that I was trying to get at something that photographers have always known, that you work so hard to stop time, to capture your memories, and yet what you get is a still image. It's not your past, it's not your life, It's another uncanny thing that fails to capture life. For a long time, I really couldn't access 3D printers, so I made renders and video, but my heart lies with figurative sculpture. And I began 3D printing my figurative scans, my fractured scans at life size, once I was able to access a printer, sometimes casting and painting them. One of my first large series was called Artifact, and this work was made from 3D laser scans of my own body. I used the language of classical and even funereal statuary, white surfaces, serene poses, but when the viewer sees these pieces up close, they realize they aren't actually fragmented marble sculptures, but contemporary figures that are damaged not by time, but by deliberate digital mistranslation. My next series was entitled Prodromes. For this series, I scanned a group of models and performance artists as they enacted the poses that were supposedly typical of an attack of female hysteria. For those who haven't heard the term, this is a diagnosis largely applied to women, reached its peak in the 19th century when thousands upon thousands of women were hospitalized in asylums, like the Salpêtrière in 19th century Paris. Hysteria is now completely discounted by psychiatry, but that wasn't the case 100 years ago. I was especially fascinated by the violent ways in which photography was used. Patients were hypnotized, given electric shocks, made to perform a series of strange poses, and I was fascinated by the futility of using photography to capture something as invisible as madness. So I made this series of 3D printed sculptures. We exhibited at iBeam, Bitforms, and C24 Gallery in New York. The works incorporated the support structures that the software generates to hold up an unstable print. I loved how they solved the engineering problem of floating fragments while also suggesting physical and psychological instability. The women looked like they were monuments under construction or maybe even demolition. I was working on 2 new projects after this. This is the final, one of the final result, I should say. This piece is from Bitforms Gallery in 2019. And that's how it was made. Okay, this is all the documentation from C24 Gallery. The exhibition was called Transfigure. And these are some of the renders and prints that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so I was working on 2 different projects when New York City went into lockdown. One, which was almost complete, was an exhibition for SVA entitled Dematerialized. I'd become intrigued by Buto, an experimental form of dance which originated in post-war Japan, and whose understanding of the failing, frail, and traumatized body really resonated with me. I collaborated with several performers during a residency at Pioneer Works in Brooklyn. This image is showing me with one of them. Her name was Cindy Butts. And another woman I worked with was a dancer named Azumi Oe. I made a series of works depicting their bodies as avatars, floating in a death-like black space and no longer subject to gravity. This is one of those renders. And that show closed, the SVA closed the day before this show was meant to open, for the day before the exhibition opening was meant to happen. The next series was a series of portraits of women who've undergone a very serious physical transformation, whether that be pregnancy, gender transition, life-threatening illness, or major surgery. The poses were all developed by the models themselves, and the process of creating them felt so beautiful and intimate. They put so much trust in me. They posed nude for me in my studio. And we talked about bodies, art, love, our surgeries, our illnesses, our traumas, and our families and children. I found the last few months very difficult, actually, as a sculptor whose work requires close proximity to my models and relies on the energy that they bring and on conversation and collaboration. I had to move out of my studio at the Elizabeth Foundation because I had no safe way to get from Brooklyn to Times Square and no childcare, even if I could work that out. And we actually even tried moving home to Melbourne, Australia for a while in the hopes of enrolling our 2 young children in school. But Melbourne had a spike in COVID cases, went into a very strict lockdown. Now I'm back in New York with no time for with no time for making art. I'm working on childcare full-time and working on my house. My teaching is on hold. I have done several online exhibitions, but my heart really lies in making objects. And over the past few years, it's become more and more important for me to actually 3D print, to carve and paint my 3D printed objects by hand. Putting the touch of the artist's hand to these machine-made objects felt vitally important. And for me, there's no substitute for seeing original artwork in person and knowing that another human hand has touched that piece. So I'm really an object maker at heart. And although I've seen so much work online that does suit that medium, I don't think that mine is ideal for it. My files are huge and the resolution and detail are so important that the low polygon aesthetic of net art and virtual reality doesn't really appeal to me. Maybe if the resolution was much higher. So I'm trying to use what little time I have learning new skills and working on grants, all the parts of an artist's career that don't involve being in a room with other people. And I'm having calls with artists all over the world to build community, because that to me is more important than selling or exhibiting. There may not be an art market right now as strong as it was, but I know that we all as artists will find a way to persist. Thank you so much. I'll stop my share.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your wonderful and generous presentation. We don't have we don't have any stack yet, but does anyone have any question to ask?
Yes, I have one.
Sure, please.
Questions. Hey, Sophie, thank you bringing us the fantastic speaking. I really appreciate that. So I have questions about how to, please give me a second. So what do you think of the new technology on the art field?
What do I think about new technology generally in terms of art making? Yeah, it's a big question. I think that it should be a tool. And I think that we as artists should have as many tools as possible. You know, I think that there can be a danger when you're making work that involves technology where it could become an advertisement. It maybe isn't critical enough, or sometimes artists get really excited. They're like, I will make a piece in virtual reality and then I'll come up with the idea later. So for me, I think it's really important if you're going to use it, like any tool, that you understand the history and that you think really critically about why you use it and what you're trying to say. And it's not just for the sake of tech, you know, that you make work that like looks at itself, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Also, I have another.
Sorry?
But sorry.
I think we should have the translation for this part. And okay, and the first question is about 我们的第一个问题就是说非常感谢 Sophie 给我们做的展示，那非常感谢您做的非常精彩的分享。那么我们第一个问题是关于新的科学技术对于艺术创作的作用。我们的 Sophie 的回答是，我觉得这是一个非常好的问题。新的技术的发展其实对于艺术来讲，也就相当于一个工作的作用、工具的作用。那么对于艺术家来讲，他们能够掌握的可以使用的工具越多就越好。有可能科学技术的发展也会带来一些非常危险的反向作用，但是对于许多的艺术家听到艺术的科技的发展会感到非常的兴奋。比如说我在我的下次创作中可能会用到虚拟现实技术，而在我看来这项工具也就是新科学技术的发展和其他的工具没有任何的区别。我们在应用科学技术到我们的艺术创作之中，要想清楚一个问题：我们为什么要用到这项技术？我们要怎么把它应用好？这样我们就会对于艺术创作中科技的使用有一个更好的了解和认识。这是我对上述问题的回答，谢谢。
Oh, excuse me. I think, Jordan, maybe you're too close to your mic. It's been a little bit noisy.
Okay, sorry for that.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your answer, and thanks for Jordan for translation. So I also have another question, maybe similar to your last one, but I also want to ask you, So what do you think is the difference between the handmade traditional sculpture and the new sculpture, such as you mentioned in your speech, like the 3D printing and VR? Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I don't know very much about VR, so I can speak much more about 3D printing. I mean, you know, they're both designed by people, and they're both mostly kind of built by people or built by things that people have built. So I don't think there's such a huge difference, but I find that the materials sometimes in 3D printing are very limited, and so often it's a plastic that's not archival, so it might turn yellow in a few years, or it's quite limited in scale. You can print in really beautiful materials like metal and glass, but you can only make them things about that big, and there are so many design limits to what you can make. That said, I'm really fortunate, like the forms that I want to make really couldn't be made any other way. I've tried to send my pieces, some of the really thin, delicate ones, to a foundry, and they've sent them right back to me and said, this is just not castable, you know, it's too thin. So 3D printing lets me make forms that I couldn't make otherwise, but I really do love to paint them. The painting became really important.
What question are you looking for to?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Oh, sorry. Are you just finished your answers?
Yeah.
I want to ask you. But do you need like translate or?
Yeah, you can go ahead and translate. Thank you.
Maybe I can just ask question after translation.
Sure.
那么我们的下一个问题其实是，想问一下，我们传统手工做出来的雕塑和3D 以及 VR 这些方式创作出来的雕塑的区别。那么我们 Sophie 的回答是，其实我对虚拟现实方面可能不是非常的了解，所以我可能对3D 雕塑的了解也是有限的。那么在我看来，这些雕塑其实都是由人们设计，所以在本质上不会存在太大的区别。但是呢，我也会对材料方面，不同的雕塑可能在材料方面的还是区别比较大。就比如说，有些雕塑是用塑料制成的，可能在未来几年可能会变成黄色，而且由于塑料的限制，我们也不可能做出来比较大规模、大幅的作品，也不能在金属以及玻璃上这种非常美丽、非常精致的材料上进行雕刻。那么我之前也遇到过一些问题，当我把自己的设计去想要把它们转成雕塑的时候，对方也会跟我说，由于目前的技术限制，由于现在材料的限制，我们的画作不能呈现出雕塑的方式，那么这也令我非常的失望。我觉得未来随着技术的发展，也许可以让我们在其他更多的材料上进行创作。这也是我对于绘画非常感兴趣的原因，因为我们可以用绘画的方式呈现我的作品，非常感兴趣的原因，因为这样可以让我能够在以更多的方式去呈现出我想表达的事情。然后这个我不知道刚才 Sophie 有没有完全回答完。I'm not sure whether you have finished your answer just now, Sophie.
Yes. It was a long answer. I'm sorry. Sorry, children.
Okay, thank you, because there was a question coming, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt your answer. I want to ask, like, in the process of your artist and like art creation, have you ever thought about like what questions you want to raise through your like own works of art? Because we all know that like artwork is also like is trying to ask questions to the viewer. So have you ever thought about this? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question too. I have to say I'm very guided by my intuition about the work that I want to make. And it's very hard for me to kind of consciously plan it out ahead of time. I think that it usually takes me about a year after I finish the work, and then I really know what it was about and what I was trying to say. And so I usually do my writing about my work much later when the piece is completely finished. And when I'm in the middle of it, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of following my instincts and you know, the ideas that I'm interested in, but it's not really very verbalized yet. So I think that process of coming up with those questions maybe happens after I make it, if that makes sense.
那么我们的第3个问题是在艺术创作过程中，很多的艺术家都想问出一些问题或者表达自己的一些疑惑。那么我们的问题就是 Sophie 您在艺术创作的过程中想要提出的问题是什么？您的作品想要表达哪些意义？我们 Sophie 的回答是，我觉得这个问题非常的有趣，在我的艺术创作中往往都会由自己的直觉去驱动，然后依照自己的直觉去进行一些艺术创作，所以对于我来讲，很难在预先去设想好我想表达的问题或者呈现出的一些想法，可能在完成作品的1年后，我才意识到自己当时想要表达哪些想法。在我完成作品之后，我也会诉诸于写作的形式，去把自己的想法、思考去描述出来。但是在创作过程中，我却很难掌握到自己当时的思考是什么，只是随着我的直觉去把作品完成好。那这就是我对上一个问题的回答，谢谢。
Thank you so much, Sophie.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sophie.
I wrote a stack in the chat just maybe as a demonstrate, but also I have a question myself too.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm super interested in your idea about like touch and also the sense of incompletion. And also we're in this like difficult time and dealing COVID-19. And I'm wondering how does like COVID-19 changed your perspective or not to the idea of touch and incompletion and transformation, all those?
Oh, wow. That's a beautiful question. I'm not quite sure yet. I mean, I was in a digital exhibition that was called A Language for Intimacy, and I'm not sure if that's still online or not. I can look up the link before we go. And there was a woman called Amanda Contrada wrote a little essay about my work, and she was talking about how it was so strange to look at images where the dancers are touching and their bodies are really close together. And she, you know, she was talking about like, I think how strange it was to kind of be living on your own and not ever be in physical close to any human. I don't know, I'm close to my kids all the time. They're always on me. So my touch in my own personal life, there's like a lot, but yeah, like touching artwork, I don't know, I miss it. I really look forward to the day when we can go into a gallery again safely and obviously not touch the art, but you could be close enough to touch it if you wanted to.
那么我也有一个问题，就是关于其实我对您的艺术创作是非常感兴趣的，包括您的主题 touch incompleteness， 就包括触碰，就包括一些残缺这样的主题，我是非常感兴趣的。我就想问，在疫情的环境下，对于您未来的在疫情的这种情况下，会不会目前的这种形式对您未来的艺术创作会有一些影响？那么 Sophie 的回答是，我曾经也是参与过一个网上的艺术展览，这个展览的名字叫做语言的亲密性。我不太清楚目前这个展览是不是还能在网上看到，但是我们也可以之后去看一下。其中有一位女士看到我的作品之后，就对我提出了一个问题，她说我对您的作品的主题是非常感兴趣的，那么同时会不会就是作为女艺术家独身一人，在这种情况下也是一种非常残酷的事实。那么其实我一直和孩子都保持着非常亲密的关系，也是在疫情期间一直需要照顾自己的孩子，所以我能和人接触的机会还是比较多的，也能保持比较多的身体上的碰触。我不太清楚这个疫情什么时候会过去，但是我还是非常希望那一天能够到来， 这样我们就可以大家走到画廊里，享受尽量多的这种碰触，这种 touch。但是当然了，也不是我们去碰触那些画作，但如果画廊开放，我们就有更多的机会去近距离的接触这些作品，这也是我非常希望能够尽快达成的目标。谢谢大家。
Oh,
Thank
Sophie,
you,
we
Sophie.
actually have a question in the chat, and it's in Chinese. I will try my best to translate.
Thank you.
With my understanding, I think the person is asking that if one day the virtual reality gaming market become like mature and complete enough, will you be willing to share or put your digital work into the game for the players to purchase?
Oh, wow, to purchase, to buy, yeah. That would be a different art market, I think. The art world would have changed a lot if that happens. Maybe, I don't know, in the future. Right now, I think I really don't like the resolution in VR because my work is so detailed and my files are hundreds and hundreds of megabytes. I think all the detail is really important, and I don't like how they look at low resolution. So it would have to improve a lot, and the art market would have to change, but maybe.
那么我们有同学提出来一个问题，就是说有一天如果我们的 VR 市场足够的成熟，那么您是否愿意把自己的数字化的作品放到网上进行竞标？然后我们 Sophie 的回答是，这个问题，当然了，如果就是 VR 成熟了，那将带来很多的不同，我们的艺术世界也会变得不同。那么在未来，也许我会愿意参加到这个竞标之中。但是呢，目前来讲，我觉得VR 的发展还不足以让我把作品传送到网上，参与这个过程，因为目前 VR 的分辨率还不能够清楚地展现我的作品。我的作品其实是非常大的，就比如说几百兆、几千兆这种样子。所以如果我能，如果未来的 VR 市场足够的发达，足够的把我的作品呈现出去，也许我会进行考虑。谢谢您的提问。
Thank you, Jordan, so much. Does anyone else have questions they want to ask? Okay. Thank you again. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, now let's move on to our second part of the lecture. And please allow me to introduce our second artist, Xin Song. Xin's recent work borrows and incorporates pictures from varieties of magazines, which question the values of social. As an art educator, Song Xin has given lectures at Stony Brook University, University of South Florida, State University of New York College, Hampshire College, Hunter College, and Fashion Institute of Technology. Song Xin has also founded several Chinese shadow puppetry and Chinese paper cutting workshops for institutions and schools. 艺术家宋鑫老师最近的作品借用了各种杂志上的图片，以解答有关社会和政治价值的问题。作为一名艺术教育家，宋鑫自2001年以来一直在石溪大学、南佛罗里达大学、纽约州立大学、汉普郡学院、亨特学院、FIT 等学校担任客座讲师，并为各种文化机构和学校创办了几所中国剪纸和皮影戏工作室。Okay, now please welcome our artist Song Xin. 宋老师，您可以开始您的讲座了。
Hi everyone. I'm Song Xin. I mean English name. I'm Xin Song. Thank you, Xiyun, invite me here. I'm very glad to meet you all in cloud in this difficult time. And thank you, Sophie, for the wonderful presentation. And back to me, okay? I'm born in Beijing and I create contemporary Chinese paper cut inspired by the traditional form when I learn and study with the farmers in the countryside of China. They are using scissors, sit together, chat, cutting red paper, decorate the windows and the wall. And the traditional window paper cut and mainly composed of opera characters, floral patterns, and animal, fish and beast, and the flower. So everything that representing a beautiful objects. With joy, health, and love and life, they are using their own hands and simple feelings, good wishes, and make the life a happy and good fortune. And this is just a little, the traditional I learned from the countryside that I really enjoy with, learning with some life and art. So back to me, I'm using my own photographer, magazines, mylar, rice, and many different another paper. I making a large scale site-specific installation using a draping, hanging, and lighting, glass laminations, and put them all together. Make a lot of outdoor public art. So now since 2000, I moved to New York. So I'm start going to talk a little about my public art project when I spend my time in New York City. Okay, all right. Oh. Okay, so the first one is the Bay Parkway Station D line. Is located in the Bay Parkway, Brooklyn. So I take the project in 2010 from the MTA Art for Transit. So the name is the Tree of Life. I'm using a photograph taken from the community and the shops, people who live in this area. And I print out, and I cut out and paste them together, put all together to the Tree of Life. Why I'm named the Tree of Life? Because in this area, they have 5 different major immigrant people from 5 different countries. They have Chinese, they have Russian, they have East Europe, they have Jewish, they have Italians. So I put all the people and the life and together. So when the people waiting to the train, they can see the familiar face, the familiar things when the things they will see every day passing by. So I feel they have a communication with my work. So this is the detail. You can see a little bit of the object, the people, buildings around. It's a trail of life. The second one is the Flatiron Building in 23rd Street, 5th Avenue. So this is the glass pole space presenting by the Spring Company. So they give a free space to the artists for 4 months. So every year they select three artists. So we have this opportunity to show our work. So this work title is The Cutting Dream. I using a lot of the photo and the New York City photo, and that year was 2013. So a lot of things happening in that year. Wall Street occupy and the Iraq War. So I took a lot of those photos and put them all together, create a Statue of Liberty. Because for me, New York is representing a freedom. The freedom is a Statue of Liberty. But after when I created this work, the things happening around me, so I feel the freedom is really cost a lot. So this artwork is a little question mark about people passing by who, reflection about when they see my work, they may think about. And the third work I did is in Broadway, between 36th Street to 41st Street. So every 2 blocks, they have 1 panel. So this artwork called Five Elements. 5 Elements is the traditional Chinese, elements like I Ching, Yin Yang. So the 5 elements is wood, fire, water, metal, and earth. And each of the elements is representing a season. So spring is wood, they're representing a green. So I choose the flower is the tulips, because in New York City, in the springtime, you see a lot of beautiful tulips open around us. And the summer is the fire. So I choose the lotus, because the lotus, I'm from China, the lotus I see all the time in the summertime is beautiful, elegant flowers. So I choose lotus. And the fall is chrysanthemum. So that's the fall. And the winter is the plum blossom. So each of flower I using photos I take around the Times Square, then I create them all together, because I feel there's 5 elements in Times Square, and Times Square is the center of the world. So people will all meet in there, and this all together to become like a life circle. So this is what I'm feeling. I feel everybody enjoy, when they see my work, they have joy. This is the lotus in the summertime. And the third one, and the next one I did is the Grand Central Terminal for celebrate a 100 years anniversary. So the MTA Art for Transit invite 4 artists four paper cut artists to participate this show. So when I got this invitation, I'm gonna have a little pressure, because we must use the black paper, because the light box is already created. So it's kind of like, like you have some kind of title, like topic you need to finish. And what we create, we need to relate the elements with the Grand Central. So I just, visit Grand Central a lot of time, and sitting there looking people passing through, think about the idea. Then finally I got it. So this title is Time, Light, Gate, and Clock. So time, I feel, in the center, you see the time. For the time, I feel you're waiting for the train, you need to look at the time, right? You cannot be late, you can be early. And the light, when you in the platform, you see the light coming is the train, and also representing, the hope and the light of the life. And the gate is you passing through the gate, then you go to the train. And for me, I feel when I see the people passing by, I just see, people from this door to another door. Is like a life, like our own life. And each person that have their own story. And the clock, this is the clock in the center, is always moving, from the seconds and minute and hour, a day, and a lifetime. So this is displayed at the Grand Central for 2 years. And this one is I did from the Percent for Art, so public art for the public school program. So this one is displayed in 2015 at the PS 170 in Brooklyn and the school lobby. So this title is The World Garden. So the school student is the second, a lot of second immigrant born here. They from more than 30 countries, the parents from more than 30. I did a little research about the school student, that I picked the country national flowers, and each of the flower I using their country culture, food, architect, the major things to create this flower. So when the kids are around, they can recognize their own country national flower. Then also they can see a little bit about their cultural background, just for a little educational things for this school project. And this ones I did for the the installation art, also using black and white paper. Is called Message from Nature. So since the 2008, I start to do the Tree of Life project. So a lot of my artwork is related with nature, trees. So this is the one. And another one is I create this one. It just when I arrived at Cleveland State University, I creating there. So you see, I just creating like installation there. So now I'm just share a little video about it, about my short paper cutting performance. So I shrank them to 37 seconds. The total performance is 12 to 15 minutes without pencil tracing, without any drawing, just using X-Acto knife and the cutting paper in front of the audience. So even myself, I don't know what I create, the end, I don't know. So back to the slideshows, okay. And I also using I'm not always using my hands. I also using a technology. So this one, the artwork I did for New York College of Technology.
Excuse me.
Yes.
宋老师。
Yes.
您刚才在关闭你的 slideshow 的时候卡住了，我们没有能够看到您的 video。
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. Again, can you see now? No.
I think you may stop sharing and open your video and start share again. That happens.
All right, this is the video.
Okay, it's good now.
So it's 37 seconds, and the total is 12, 15 minutes. Yes. So I've been been paper cutting for a long time, and finally in 2017 I start do the performance in front of people. So I want the audience to see how I'm cutting, how I did my artwork. Yeah. So this is a really quick thing. Okay, I stop sharing now. Sorry, I'm. No. Okay. All right, now we're back, right? Yes, okay, sorry. All right, I'm just saying I'm not always using my hands, and when I have the project, can collaborate with modern technology, I would love to. So this artworks I did with laser paper cutting for the New York College of Technology. So the artwork name is Extension, and they display in the school lobbies. Yeah. So because it's very large and big, and the time was short, so I decided to using the laser cut, and really nice. I mean, I'm really happy with the result. So, and the last exhibition I did, the 2020, before the lockdown, was Fordham Plaza in Bronx, was Department of Transportation with Shashama Space. So this one is for they invite 3 paper cutting artists and doing active in the area, because it's Bronx. They feel they want to bring more artwork, art to the community, and also colorful. So I decided to using really bright color, and because it's also the winter time in January, so like a pop of the area and get attention. So people passing by the screen, I will see it. Okay, so back to, after the lockdown, I've been doing my own work with the still life. And this is when I'm staying, quarantine, and I'm stay doing in the home. Actually, I'm using, also all my work is most colorful and magazine collage, but being at home, I don't have much material, so I just using whatever I have at home, and I find the screen net, which is a black net you can see through. So I find that nice. In that time, everybody is feel low and really upset. So I think black color is really can bring my feeling in that moment. And also you can see through. It feel like the virus, like they're around. So I'm start using the net and pasting them together with the paper, limited paper I have. But I layer up the net and I start sewing just like the old time. So I pretty much enjoy, and I feel when I'm sewing, using my hands and quietly and working, I find it very peaceful. And this art is with me go through this all past 6-7 months. Yeah, so I'm really enjoy to what I do. Okay, thank you everyone. I'm finished.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was such a wonderful and beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have question they want to ask? Sophie, please.
Sophie, yes. Sophie, you have a question for me?
Yeah.
We're so two different.
It was beautiful work. Thank you so much. I have a couple of, one is a technical question, so I guess I'll ask that and then we can do the translation, and then I have a second question that's less technical. When a long time ago, I did a residency in Tokyo and I was working on digital origami, and I came across these desktop cutting machines, the Cricut, and people use them a lot in hobby and scrapbooking and origami. And I was wondering if you've ever experimented with any of those. There, instead of having something laser cut at a facility, you print a graphic and then it cuts with a blade instead of a print head.
Not really. I mean, I did with the water jet, cutting with the big like metal, but I didn't do anything. That was the computer, graphic. I already make a file and send to that. Then they did. I mean, most of the time I'm doing just by hands. And I would like to try. You mean the mold, right? The mold something.
Yeah, but it's a different process because you're not making the decisions with your hands anymore. You're sending a computer file to a little printer, but you can keep them on your desk and they cut. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, send to me. I will like to learn. I mean, I'm always like to learn the new things. Really.
I'll let you translate before I.
那我们就是刚才 Sophie 先评价了一下宋老师的作品，他说宋老师的作品是非常美丽的，而且给我们做的展示也是非常精彩的。那么 Sophie 有2个问题想问，第一个是和技术相关的，然后第2个是和技术不是那么相关的。然后他第一个问题其实是 Sophie 在多伦多住过一段时间，然后他看到了一种桌面上可以使用的一种装置，可以进行对于作品进行切割，或者进行这种先是把放在桌面上的文件夹里面的照片打出来，然后再通过仪器进行切割。然后他想问宋老师有没有考虑过用这种方式进行艺术创作？然后因为这个目前他提到的这种方式可能比较的新奇。我们宋老师之前可能不知道他说的这种方式，所以我们希望就是 Sophie 能够为我们提供更多的资料。然后宋老师也提到了，我们是非常愿意去 去进行对这种新事物进行探索的。因为宋老师之前的作品其实大多都是手工制成的，付出了很多的心血。
Thank you, Jordan. And yeah, my second question is, I thought of this because I saw the Liza Liu, the beaded piece at the New Museum a while ago, I guess before March. I wondered, with the kind of scale of your work and the complexity, and also the fact that you work with a lot of communities, do you ever involve other people and kind of have people cutting together to make your own personal work? Or when you do workshops, do people make their own and they're not involved in kind of making yours?
I did one time with the workshop I did one time was in the Shenzhen. That was the library. They asking me to collaborate with the students, with the parents. So I come up with the idea. I say, why we just making the one huge tree? Everybody cutting something, put them together. So after that result, they're really happy. Then they decide to keep it.
No.
Yes, to keep. Yes. To keep in display in the library, say we're going to keep it, we're not taking down. But most of the time, you're doing workshop, they put them something together, then they will take it down because the space required. But for myself, I did, sometimes if I have interns, they will, come to help me to do something. But if not, I'm just doing.
Yes. All right, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
那么下一个问题就是 Sophie 看到宋老师的作品其实规模都是非常大的，而且工艺也非常的复杂，还需要和很多不同的社区、不同的人们进行合作。那么他的问题就是，宋老师是否在创作过程中和许多其他的不同的朋友进行共同创作，并且完成自己的作品，还是会组织那种工作室，让不同的人，让很多人去完成自己的手工创作。那么宋老师的回答是，他曾经在深圳的一家图书馆里举办过这种工作室，然后邀请了自己的学生和父母都参与到这个剪纸的创作过程中来。但是在这次合作中，许多的学生和家长，还包括图书馆，对于这个作品都非常的满意，所以他们就把这个作品留下了，就一直在图书馆里进行展览。那么其实有很多其他的作品，如果就是由于场所和空间的限制，可能不能一直的展示，但是宋老师和学生家长们一起创作这幅作品，因为实在是太精美了，大家太喜欢了，所以一直都在进行展示。那么在宋老师的其他的工作中，也会有一些实习生和他进行共同创作，完成最终的作品展现，这也是有的。
Thank you.
Does anyone else have questions they would like to ask?
I have a questions.
Okay, please.
宋老师，那我就先用中文，然后待会儿请 Jordan， 然后再翻译一下。就是现在，因为剪纸它是比较偏于传统的一种艺术，所以当你看到就是很多作品，出现在各种的屏幕上面，而不是挂在墙上，你是作何感想？
你再说一遍，出现在屏幕上。
对，就是出现在各种屏幕上，比如说手机屏幕、电脑屏幕等等。
你说是谁的作品？就是
您的作品也好，或者就偏向传统的作品，绘画、剪纸、雕塑。
出现在屏幕上，我有什么感想？
对，你是。
我没有什么感想啊。我对不起，我没有明白你这个主题的这个问题的意思。就说你说我的作品出现在屏幕上，就在视频。
对，因为我觉得现在屏幕取代了墙壁。
你说就是说我的作品出现在屏幕上，没有在画廊里展出，我会有什么感想？
对，因为我觉得它是一种趋势，就是未来
就是说会在比如说像你说是在 VR 在哪里出现，有什么 就说你觉得我，其实我个人没有什么，就是我对你这个问题没什么。我觉得艺术家创作其实是最重要的，在哪儿展，就是说，因为我其实是我过去10年就是做了很多公共艺术，我愿意在公共的场所去传播，因为我觉得画廊和博物馆，参观的人数毕竟有限。那在它的就是就像我说，在地铁站，在公共的区域，在大街上，在公共的区域去就是摆放，那么观看的人会更多，就是说比进博物馆的人要多的很多。所以我觉得这种普及是非常重要的，就是像艺术教育一样，就是说作为一个提高，让普通的人都可以看到。所以你所说的在屏幕上，在任何地方，我觉得出现我都挺高兴的。
哦，好的，谢谢。我觉得这是我想要的答案。
谢谢。
And now we have another question. Is about because paper cutting and like other kind of art creation, including painting, paper, and sculptures, originally are quite traditional based art forms. So if our work got gradually divorced from its original place to display, including like walls, what would our teacher will think about this question, whether she will be uncomfortable with it being displayed on screens instead of on the walls. And our teacher's response is that the most important part of the most important is the creation of art. And over the past 10 years, she has been actively engaged in the creation of public art. And she knows that it is important to get her art piece known by others and influence more people. For places including the galleries and museums, they can only target a few people instead of make it known to the public. But other places, including the station, the public spaces, these places will help gather more people, and more people will be attracted by the form of art. So the popularization of art education, it is important. That's why she doesn't like really care whether it is shown on the screen or wall, as long as the artwork can be influential to other people and help other people understand the creation of art. That is enough. That's why she will welcome the use of internet and, for example, science and technology, as long as it helps to make the art like better understood by more people. And that's her answer.
Thank you. We have a question in Stack. Xu, would you like to ask yourself?
Yeah.
Or should I? Okay.
Yeah, I can ask. 这个问题是给宋老师的，是这样。我想问问您有没有什么建议给现在在留学的年轻的亚洲艺术家或者是学生们？对于如何找到一个适合自己的 community， 就是艺术家社群，这一点我觉得如果要在纽约立足是非常重要的一点。您有没有什么建议？
在纽约立足，我觉得其实从我的经验来说，你首先要找到自己。我觉得你找到自己了，你就会找到那个 community。我觉得 community 这个词，就是说它的局限性太多了。你为什么一定要 Asian community？ 为什么要 Italian community？ 你要突破这个。如果你自己觉得，因为纽约是一个移民的一个城市，它的人都来自不同的地方。我觉得你和我们只是其中的一个。那我们的 Asian community 其实就是那么一点点而已。但是如果你自己努力，你自己成了，那你就是大家的 community。这是我的建议，真的。我觉得大家都很不容易。其实我也是，就是说跟你们走，当然是我走过了这些路，但是你们现在是在一个非常非常难的一个时期。但是我觉得要克服， 其实最重要的就是做你们应该做的事情，就是你不能停下你要做什么，就是那你越干事情就会越多，找你人就会越多，对不对？一开始可能是中国策展人找你做，那时间长了，也许是别的，就是大家都来找你做，也许就是从网上认识他也会来找你做。那我觉得这个就突破了，不是说你一定要守在这里要抱团儿，大家都在这儿，我觉得没有这种意义，因为这个不是说你是一个小，就是纽约真的，它是一个特别广的，它这个点是散的，你不要把自己圈在自己那个小的那个范围里，就是我不知道你理解吗？
可以 get 到一点，谢谢您。
And the next question for Professor Song Xin is about the sharing of experience and importance for young Asian artists who want to live in New York. How can they find their art community? And our teacher's experience, based on her experience, shared some thoughts about this point. And for her, she thinks that the most important for every young artist is to find yourself, to find the true self, to find a sense, so that it will be easier for them to get the belonging, to get who they really are. And in saying that our Asian or African artists to find a community, actually this statement set lots of limitations. And New York as such a large hub for different groups of people, different kind of people, it embraces people to explore themselves. And if you try hard enough, you will always create a community yourself. The most important thing is that you need to overcome all the limitation and to display the true color of yourself. And for Professor Song, she has already overcome that stage, but for many of our artists, they are still struggling. It is important for them to not stop working hard, to not stop pursuing their dreams. As long as they can continue to pursue their own dreams, there will be more people actively connect to them, to give them more opportunities to do the work they want, to demonstrate the best of themselves. And later, more Chinese incubators, like foreign incubators, and even people they meet online will help them to build up their own community. So this is really important. We shouldn't limit yourself to a small circle. Instead, you should hone your skills and be the best you can. Then you will be more successful.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you. I have a question that's relating to Xiyun's, but not quite the same. So, with my understanding, you're dealing a lot with really traditional Chinese art making techniques, and also, so how has globalization of art and art market has changed your views of your artistic identity? So do you consider yourself still as a Chinese artist or a contemporary artist or just an artist who works in paper cutting, or how do you identify yourself as an artist, and also how do you identify your works?
I'm just artist. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just artist who using a traditional paper cutting skill to create a contemporary art, and I don't limit myself. I creating what I by space, by project, by what I feel. Yes, I really feel. Yes.
Of course, has globalization ever affect your view about your work, just in general?
What's that? I don't know. 你的什么意思 ？OK，
就是全球艺术市场和艺术世界的全球化有没有改变一些你对你对中国传统艺术的一些想法，或者说你对你自己和中国传统艺术和你作品之间的联系有没有改变一些
Okay, this is a very big question.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it could be a long answer. It could be a very short. I mean, I from China, and I grew up in China, and I learned the traditional skills. But I moved to New York. I look something new, and I observe. I learn something new too. So I put them all together. And you cannot say I don't use the traditional things. I mean, it's in my blood. I mean, like the traditional yin yang, I Ching, like like the thing. I think it's really help. But I find the common, the narrative with another country. So I feel I'm not alone. Our the Chinese culture is not alone. So I find paper cutting, the Mexico, the East Europe, the Japan, and the Holland, the Denmark, many countries using the paper cut skills. So and also in American, like I'm sewing, I see the American quilting, the women sitting together, like, sewing for the quilt. So I feel that kind of feeling is similar than I'm, visiting the countryside when I see the farmers, the women, old ladies sitting there cutting paper and chatting. So I feel it's kind of connect. I think we all connect. It's like the yin yang, like this world. We cannot just say, oh, you're from there, I'm from there, because then it's not like that. It's I feel we're connected. I learn from the difference. So I learned different things from another country. And I feel it's very interesting and fascinating. Yeah, for me, I mean, to bring the new things, like, with my old things together, together. So I like it. I really, if you want to label with, carry on the culture things, then it's fine with me. But I mean, I'm just do what I really like. Actually, I'm really enjoy what I'm cutting. Yeah.
Thank you. Jordan, you may just translate in Chinese of her answer.
OK， 因为我们主持人刚才又重复了一下问题，所以我可能只翻译老师的回答。那么其实老师把自己定位为一个定位为艺术家。通过传统剪纸的这种方式，不断的去丰富当代的艺术。他不为自己设限，不会因为场所或者从事的这些项目给自己设定一个限制。那么其实呢，老师也回答了一下自己对全球化的看法。其实这个问题是一个非常博大、非常广阔的一个问题，对于他的回答也可长可短。那么宋老师自己是在中国出生，也在北京长大，之后呢也学习了中国的传统艺术，之后来到了纽约，也去了解了新生事物，去进行观察，进行学习。那么也是有一个文化融合的一个过程。其实在传统文化虽然来到了纽约，但是中国传统文化还是深深的融入在老师的血液里，包括阴阳，包括易经这些元素。那么老师其实还是能够在中国找到一些，其实也可以注意到一些不同地区、不同国家的相似点。那么其实在东欧、日本、丹麦等等国家也会有人从事剪纸艺术。老师曾经在美国看到有妇女坐在床上去缝被子，其实这一点就和中国乡村许多 中国乡村的现象还是非常相似的。那么就有一些老妇坐在床上，他们去进行剪纸，边剪纸边聊天，这些都能看出来，其实每个国家都不是割裂的，世界就像阴阳所述的那样，是统一的。那么大家也可以在不同国家之中找到一些联系，并不是意味着每个人，包括你我，是单独独立的存在，而是我们在方方面面中都能找到相关的联系。这一点在老师看来是非常有趣，也是非常能够吸引人的。这种新与旧的结合，对于老师看来都是，老师是非常喜欢这种艺术的结合，并且呢，他不愿意给自己贴上标签，而是更多的将自己投入到传统艺术剪纸这个艺术创作的过程中，为大家带来更多的好的作品。
Okay, thank you, Jordan, so much. So due to the time issue, maybe today's lecture we will end here. And thanks again, everyone, for attending this meeting. It's our greatest pleasure seeing you all here with us today. And again, thank you so much, wonderful Sophie and Song Xin. We sincerely appreciate your generous presentations. And for everyone, please email us if you have any questions, and please provide us with any feedback. We look forward to seeing you again next time, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.
Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, guys.
you.
Thank you, Song Xin 老师, and thank you,
so
Sophie.
much.
Thank you. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for the translation as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank
Hope
you.
you have a nice weekend. Bye.
拜拜。徐韵、一琛，我们留下来讲一下好吗？
OK.
我要泡茶了。
什么？
我们要不要换一个线路啊？
哦，要不我们换一个也好。对对对。
是吧
？OK。
嗯。
怎么换呀？
我再立一个，稍等。
让徐云来弄。
好，那希允你就把这个关了吧。
等一下见。
拜。
拜拜。